Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Turndog Talks To. I'm delighted to be joined by Briana Borten, who is someone who helps people get what they want. So that's rather a grand statement. I must say I'm rather intrigued for Brianna to explain a little bit more about that and tell us what it is that she does. And this entire interview is about the successful mistake. So I'm going to be asking Brianna about the mistakes she's made and how she's overcome them to, well, I suppose, get what she wants. So Brianna, thank you very much for joining me today.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Absolute pleasure. Well, let's get straight into it. And if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do, I'm rather intrigued to find out more myself.
Yes. I teach people how to get what they want through courses. I do some one-on-one work and lectures. I'm really, some people call it like manifestation. I teach what I think of as like practical manifestation, like all the things you need to do to actually get what you want besides hoping. I started this business within the last year because I have several other businesses. I have a holistic day spa. We have two locations in Portland, and we're opening another one in Colorado. And we also have a natural pain relief patch company that's sold like nationwide through practitioners and Whole Foods. And I was missing part of what I used to do a lot of. I like went to school for Ayurvedic medicine, and I did lots of counseling, and then as a business owner and a manager, I did a lot of managing the people and helped them kind of do self-reflection and really like create their lives the way they want them to be. And then I kind of worked myself out of all these jobs, and then I was missing it. And I was like, I love to help people really do this work, this like growth work that helps us really get what we want in our lives. And so I decided that since I wasn't going to go back into like doing all the management parts of my businesses, I thought I would do it in a way that I could serve a greater and bigger community.
What a fantastic example of someone doing what they love, building businesses, in your case, around passion. And now you're at a point in your career where you're able to, I suppose, give back and help other people find that passion and take it to the next level.
Yeah, it's super fun. I love it. And I actually am surprised how much I love helping people really like create it seems like it was challenging for me too, but I had to learn all the things kind of the hard way. So it's kind of nice to be there with somebody and be like, oh, I can kind of see because I've made so many mistakes, see kind of like what those were and help other people try to avoid at least some of them.
Yeah, because I speak to a few people who build their businesses around coaching others, and I always feel that these individuals, and I suppose I'm one of them in part as well, it's extra good when they make a mistake because not only are you learning yourself, but you're able to then pass on this new guidance and this new light to those that you're teaching. So in your case, all the mistakes that you're making now and you made yesteryear, you're able to pass on to your clients and the people that you meet.
Yeah, it's really wonderful. I mean, I always feel like you have to kind of be accepting of your mistakes because they're going to serve you and maybe others if you teach people. So it's helpful.
And you must have a very interesting outlook because not only have you got the sort of one man band business now, but you've had businesses where you've had staff members, where you've had to look at the manufacturing side and the service side. You must have a pretty well rounded view of the entire business scope.
Yeah, I would say that I probably have a more well-rounded view of like having employees and manufacturing and all of that side of things since I'm like new to being kind of like a one-man show. It's, I'd say it's challenging in different ways, but I'm really loving learning it. And it kind of, before I started my spas, I was just a massage therapist and I had my own private practice and I did everything. And I'm kind of remembering, oh, yeah, that's how it goes.
Yeah.
Luckily now I can have assistants, which is nice.
That's good. Yeah, the assistants can always just make your day a little bit easier.
So much.
I
I
dream of the
love it.
day. I dream of the day. Well, I must say I'm intrigued. Like I said at the beginning of the interview, we're going to talk about mistakes, but more importantly, how you can overcome them and take them from something that's a negative into a positive and learn from it. So I'm hoping you can spend a few minutes just telling us the tale around your mistake that you've chosen to share with us and what happened, how you turned it around and how you got from, I suppose, there to now.
So it was hard to choose one actually. I was like, which mistake am I going to talk about? But I think that one of the biggest like mistakes, and it's easy for me to kind of like be like, it's hard to think of anything as a mistake when you have like you can see it in the past. You're like, oh, but good things come of kind of everything if you're happy with where you are. So, but I can see that there were things I did that I could have done better. And one of those things I did was when I was pregnant with my daughter. She's now 5. But when I was pregnant with her, we really wanted to be able to have her at the spa with us so that I could still go to work and help manage people. And but we couldn't bring her like into a spa because she was a baby, and people don't like that. So luckily, the space next to us, which was an antique store, she was retiring, and so the space was up for lease, and so we decided to open a cafe in order to like have an office there where we could bring our daughter. And I would say that the mistake there was that like I'm not passionate about food like at all. I mean, like my friends who are foodies are kind of like, I mean, I like eating a good meal just like anyone, but like I don't think about food very much. I'm not much of a cook. Like I'm just I'm not passionate about it except for like the health benefits of food. And so I put myself in a position of like having a business that really requires passion, I think. And I had passion to have my daughter at work, but not so much passion to run a restaurant.
Yeah.
And so that was, I would say, kind of a mistake that I was, because it was something I thought was needed in the neighborhood and something that I thought, people would really enjoy and it would give us the space that we needed. But it was, more, I feel like things feel like more work when you're not excited about them. And that was definitely the case for me, is it felt like a lot of work because I wasn't really thrilled to be there.
Yeah.
And so then we ended up hiring people who to do that part, but like you can't really hire somebody to have the kind of passion you need to start a business. And so we'd hire managers and pay them well, but they lacked the passion for it. And so because it wasn't their business. So I think that that was probably my biggest mistake that I made. It cost us a ton of money, and it was a lot like really stressful situation. Like
That is
owning a restaurant is
that's
already
that's one expensive daycare plan.
seriously, right? And so luckily, we were able to turn it around because we were given opportunities to kind of go in the direction that we really want to go, and that was opening another spa. So we were given the opportunity to open a spa in the airport, but in order to do that, we really had to let go of the cafe. And so that was kind of like the defining moment of being like, are you going to choose to keep doing this, or are you going to like go forward with what you're really passionate about? And I realized like then like there was like no question in my mind. It was like, yes, sell the cafe.
Yeah.
And so we sold it to really wonderful people. They're great. They run it really well. They're super passionate about food and really good cooks. So that's nice. And they're always there, and they're doing a great job now. And we also still have like a space for our break room and our office, and they just have the rest of the cafe that they use, and we get a great deal on food. And so it's a really good situation, I kind of think, for everyone, and it really helped our other businesses too, because it helped create more traffic there and more of a community feel to have a really good cafe. So in the end, it turned out to be a really good thing. It was just a kind of an expensive endeavor to get there.
Not right for you, but this is something that I guess a lot of sort of young entrepreneurs in particular get, because one of the first things that happens when you set up a business which starts to grow is all these opportunities come your way, and there's always someone who's saying, oh, you should do this, and oh, you should do that. And the idea of growing and diversifying is always going to be on your mind, because you'll think, if I can make $1 million doing this business, but there's a gap in this market, I can turn that into like $5 million. But
Right.
if you build a business on passion, which is very much the cutting edge thing to do these days, there's so many passionpreneurs who are constantly building things on stuff that they love. If then you start to do something that you think you have to do, and you're doing because there's a gap in the market, that passion goes, and all of a sudden it becomes a headache. And it's
Right.
not just work, but it's a lot of hard work.
Yeah. And I think that that's so true. I mean, I think that having passion helps get through all the crappy parts of running a business. Like,
Definitely.
there are crappy parts about running every business. And if there's no like fun parts, then why build a business around doing that? Like there has to be a reward, either like a financial reward or like a spirit reward, and hopefully both,
Mm.
in order to sustain like all the bookkeeping and all the like stupid other shit you have to do to run a business, right? Like it's like that in every business, and no one gets away from it.
Absolutely, and I can imagine it is that sort of temptation. There's always going to be gaps in the market that you can go into, and some diversification is fantastic. It can really
Yeah.
open up new opportunities, and you can expand your love, expand your passion. But sometimes you do just get pulled into something because of the dollar signs or because it makes too much sense. But if it doesn't make an emotional sense, it is hard to get into it. But I'm guessing that this helped you realize just how much you love what it is that you do and what it is that I suppose you're passionate about.
Yeah, it really did. I mean, for me, I was able to really realize that I have a huge passion for creating healing spaces for people where they are given treatments that will really change their lives. And that, like, then whenever we think about doing something else, like my husband and I have like business ideas all the time, and I'm like, do I really want to be doing that? Like, sure, I think that the world could really use this like invention, but like, do I want to be the person making, like, manufacturing it and marketing and getting it out there? Like, there's more to it than just like a cool idea. You have to have like passion for like the whole thing. And for me, that really comes from like the end result and my purpose, like really defining like what my purpose is in life and in business, and then making sure that like I'm only choosing things that really align with that purpose. So then, even if I'm not passionate about it in the moment, there's like a purpose that I'm passionate about, which helps kind of drive that.
It has that end point. So I guess, like you say, you have so many business ideas these days, and I'm sure you're always coming across new opportunities, and people are coming to you. Has it just changed your entire outlook on it? So when you get that good idea, is there a particular process that you go through, and it's like, okay, it needs to check this box, it needs to tick this box, and if it doesn't kind of tick them all, you think, no, we're not going to do this because it's just going to be a headache and a trauma more
Yeah,
than anything else.
I feel like I've gotten good at like kind of like seeing through the whole process. So it's kind of like, okay, I get like that might be cool, and I might even like think it's a great idea, but like what will the next step be, and what will the next step be,
Mm.
and then where will it be in a year, and how will life be if it's really successful, and like what will I have to be doing, and like knowing that like the whole process there has to be parts in there that are really exciting to me, not just the end, because you can think like, oh, this is gonna make me $1 million. I'm gonna like move to Costa Rica, but like most businesses don't go that way that fast,
No.
and then like you're just living your life for like an end result that may or may not happen. And for me, I want to live my life for now. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like, well, I can endure work, but but if I can see that there aren't going to be like passion spots in the road along the way, then it's not worth it to me to do.
Well, that's right because I'm always a fond sort of believer in keep your eyes on the vision and always look and aim for something down the road, and if it'll bring good things in a few years' time, that's kind of the thing you need to focus on. But at the same time, if you're going to hate the 1 or 2 or 3 years between here and then, that it's hard to kind of get yourself up on them cold, dark December mornings, and when you're feeling a little bit ill, and you can do some work, but you don't really want to. You need to get through them days, and if you don't have that passion, or like you put it, certain passions points, it is difficult to kind of get through that. You need to enjoy what you're doing on a daily basis.
Yeah. And I think that there's like, it kind of like, I always get concerned because like people are then like, well, I don't like this today, so then I'm going to go do this totally other thing. And I'm like, well, no, no, no. There are going to be days that you don't love like your work, like because it's hard or you have a deadline or. And I think that we don't like not stopping is also super important, like being persistent.
Mm.
But I think that like it's why you need to choose your goals really well, like, and understand that you can like you get to bring your own passion to everything. And so if you've decided that you're like super passionate about like helping entrepreneurs, then like if it sucks one day, don't quit.
Yeah.
Like, because you can see that like in a week or two, it's your passion will be back, and there'll be moments where it feels really good.
And I suppose this is a lot what you try and pass on to people now when you're working on that one-on-one and different courses. That I suppose it's about them finding this balance where you need to find a passion, but you need to also be realistic. But it's not going to be perfect every day. And on the bad days, keep plugging away. But if it's going to be nothing but bad days, walk away and do something that you're going to enjoy. Because otherwise, you might as well work for a bank or for a big corporate employee who's going to give you a regular income, and you might as well be miserable that way.
Right. And I think people can be happy in kind of like whatever they do if they choose to be. And some people aren't meant to be entrepreneurs. And I think, well, if you don't want to be an entrepreneur and it's not fun for you, then definitely don't do it, because it's way easier to not be. Like,
Yeah.
way easier to work for somebody else and come home and like hang out with like your wife and kids than it is to like work until midnight for 5 years. So I think it's definitely a balancing act, and I love working with people to kind of help them through those hard times where they can't feel their passion, and they start to be like shiny object syndrome, like everything seems like more fun than what they're doing, and help them like bring their passion back to what they're doing. But I think that if you know your purpose in life and you align what you're doing with your purpose, then it's easier to rekindle that passion. And I think that if you don't have a purpose in life, or you don't know what it is, then you choose paths that have nothing to do with it, and then your passion just goes away, and it's harder to rekindle then.
Yeah, if you keep on a nice sort of passion-filled path, eventually you will find that purpose. It might not come today or tomorrow, but it will hopefully come eventually. So that's always good.
Yeah.
Well, I'm absolutely loving the insight. It's great, and it's great to hear that you had successful businesses and you've managed to turn it around into other things. But it shows the bad side of diversification, because I've come across so many people who have diversified in a good way, but it does show that there is a risk, and you need to be doing it for the right reasons. And the right reasons isn't just because people are telling you to, and that there might be a big shiny paycheck at the end. The right reason always is, this makes sense to me, this is something I can get on board with, and I'm excited to get involved. If you're missing those
Yeah.
key elements, it's going to be an uphill struggle.
Right. Exactly.
Well, before we finish off this fantastic interview, and I let you get back to your still young day, with it just being midday there for you, if you could pass on one piece of advice, and I suppose you do this often, to a young slash new entrepreneur, what sage piece of wisdom would you pass on to them?
It's hard to choose one, but I would say don't be afraid of failing. Like, we talk about mistakes so much, but I think that the unwillingness to fail can also drive us in wrong directions, because we're so afraid of failing. And I think of failure kind of as like trouble. Like, there is no real like trouble. It's just like your mind decides that it's like failure or trouble. And I think about like those little kids that you like put in the corner, and they're like, I don't care, like this is cool. There is no trouble for them. They're like, I don't care, I'll sit in the corner all day, right? Because this doesn't feel like a bad thing to me. And so they're completely in control, even though their parents probably really hate that, but they are in control because there is no trouble. And I feel like that about failure. Like, if you can like decide that failure isn't a scary thing, or you can like just find the like silver lining in everything, then it doesn't control you, and then you get to be really in control of what happens and like where you're going to put your energy, rather than trying to avoid like failure or whatever.
It's so funny that you say that, because I just wrote a blog post earlier today, and it was talking about some of the key things to do when you come across a mistake, and one of them is that idea of just calm down and make sure that you've got a rational mind on you, because it's when you're in control that you make the best decisions, and when you're just reacting, it's usually based on that idea of fear and panic. And if you just take a step back and go, right, what is the best decision, and you calm and you collect and you do the right thing, then it becomes so much clearer, it becomes so much easier to tackle.
Yeah, and it just feels so much better. It's like, again, back to like, this is your life. You get to choose like how you're feeling, and if you're choosing like to not go into panic mode, then you're going to just enjoy your day more, which is nice.
I
I think
like it.
I
I
like.
like it. A day with no panic's always good.
Yeah, right.
And if that all fails, you can just move on a beach, and no one can panic on a beach. And it's
Right.
nice weather, so it's good.
Yeah, exactly. Unless there's a tsunami, then maybe panic a
Well,
little.
yeah, but they're just every now and then. It's fine.
Very rare, very
Very rare.
rare.
Well, thank you so much, Brianna. It's been so fun chatting to you, and indeed, thank you, viewer, for watching. I'm sure you've picked up a lot of tips, and please check out all of Brianna's details. I'll put links and whatnot below, and I'm excited to see how you're able to help people, get the best out of things. And you call it life artistry, is that correct? And becoming
Yes.
life artists. So that's fantastic, and I think we can all approach life in a somewhat artistic way, and it helps. So thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. It's been really lovely.
A pleasure.